to your hand. Next up is Aqua Spirit. Alright. The next card is going to be Dupe Frog. Pretty much I see this card when mostly everybody uses an Xyz monster called Totally Awesome. This card becomes Death Frog while on the field. Monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one frog monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, except Dupe Frog. Ronin Totem. Another frog. Cannot be used as synchro material. This card's name becomes Death Frog while on the field. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one frog monster from your graveyard and special summon this card. Fishborg Launcher. It's a tuner monster. Never seen this one before. Looks like a fish and a robot. You know what? Yep, that's actually pretty accurate. It says it cannot be used for synchro material except for the synchro summon of a water synchro monster. If you have a monster in your graveyard other than Fishborg Launcher, and all of them are water, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. Next is Malinglacia, the Elemental Lord. It is a level 8 monster with 2800 attack points and 2200 defense points. It's quite powerful. This card cannot be normal or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by having exactly 5 water monsters in your graveyard. If this card is special summoned, discard 2 random cards from your opponent's hand, or their entire hand if less than 2. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this face-up card leaves the field, skip the battle phase of your next turn. And this one, hey, this is actually one of Shark's cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. It's Silent Angler. And this card says if you control a water monster, you can special summon this card. But you cannot special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of this turn. But that still doesn't stop you from summoning from your extra deck. Now does it? Next is an equip. I'm sorry, not an equip. It's a continuous spell. Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. When this card is activated, you can target one level 4 lower Ice Barrier monster from your graveyard, special summon it while you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters. Ice Barrier monsters you control are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. You can only use 1 Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier per turn. Now is another spell card, and this is a normal spell. Magic Triangle of the Ice Barrier. Reveal 3 Ice Barrier monsters with different names in your hand, then target 1 card your opponent controls. Destroy that target, and if you do, special summon 1 Ice Barrier monster from your hand. Pretty good spell, especially for this deck. Medallion of the Ice Barrier, another spell card. This one is actually quite simple. You can, once you play this card, add 1 Ice Barrier monster from your deck to your hand. The next one is a quick play spell, Mirror of the Ice Barrier. It says, during this turn, each time a card is banished from your hand, field, and or graveyard by your opponent's activated monster effect, Apply the following effects based on where the cards were banished from. If they're banished from your hand, banish up to 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. If they're banished from your field, banish up to 2 cards your opponent controls. Or if you banish them from your graveyard, then you can banish up to 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard. So it's pretty much you can do the same thing to him what he did to you. So that's actually a pretty good quick play spell. The next spell is called Salvage. It allows you to target 2 water monsters with 1500 or less attack points in your graveyard and add them both to your hand. Oh, and I know this card. It's called Surface. I've seen Shark use this before. In an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal on the first duel, he used this card to resurrect Big Jaws in defense mode. So it allows you to target 1 level 3 or lower fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense mode. So that's pretty much exactly like what I said. Next is a spell card which is pretty kind of funny. It's called Where Art Thou? This spell card, if you control a level 1 monster, add 1 level 1 monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase of this turn, take 2000 damage, and if you did not normal summon the added monster or a card with the same name after activating this card. Next is a trap card called Appointer of the Red Lotus. It says pay 2000 life points and reveal your entire hand. Look at your opponent's hand and banish 1 card from their hand until your opponent's next end phase. This is a nasty trap. Nasty as this guy's face. Next up is one of the most iconic continuous traps ever. Fiendish Chain. Activate this card by targeting 1 effect monster on the field. Negate its effects of that face-up monster while it is on the field. Also, that card cannot attack. When it is destroyed, this card is destroyed. Another continuous trap card, Isban. If a non-water monster is normal or special summoned while you control a water monster, change that summoned monster to defense position. Not a bad trap. The next one is called Mind Drain. It's another continuous trap card. Activate this card by paying 1000 life points. Neither player can activate monster effects in the hand. Next up is a normal trap called Heavy Storm Duster. Never seen this one. It allows you to target up to 2 spells and traps on the field, destroy them. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. Next up is another continuous trap called Crackdown. This card is as activate by targeting 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of that monster. While you control that monster, it cannot attack or activate effects. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. So it pretty much takes control of your opponent's monster. Okay, the last card for this main deck is Terror of Trishula. This trap card applies these effects in sequence depending on the number of Ice Barrier Synchro monsters you control with different names. If you have 1 or more, banish 1 card your opponent controls. 2 or more, you banish 1 card from your opponent's graveyard. Or 3 or more, banish 1 random card from your opponent's hand. When your opponent activates a card effect that targets an Ice Barrier or Synchro monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the effect, and you can only use this once per turn. Alright, so that's it for the main deck. Now we're going to go straight towards the extra deck. And like I said before when I saw them, these are very powerful beasts. So, here we go. Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. And look at this synchro monster, guys. This is incredible. And it's a level 11 synchro monster. I have never seen this kind of monster before. It says, when this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. If this synchro monster card and its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3,300. Then half the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. Also negate their effects. You can only use this effect once per turn. That's not a pretty bad monster, especially for how powerful it is. Next is Dulorian, Tiger King of the Ice Barrier. This one's a level 6 synchro monster. It says you can target any number of other face-up cards you control, return those targets to the hand, and if you do, this card gains a 500 attack for each card returned to the hand by this effect until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. Next up is Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, another dragon. It says, you can discard any number of cards to the graveyard, then target the same number of cards your opponent controls. Return those cards to the hands. You can only use this effect of Brionac Dragon once per turn. Next up is Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. It's a level 7 synchro monster. And it says, once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards to the graveyard, then target the same number of cards your opponent controls and destroy them. And now to the last card. Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. And it's a level 9 synchro monster. This one, it says, when this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to one card each from your opponent's hand, field, and graveyard. The card in hand is chosen at random. So this is very powerful. Okay, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you guys next time. So until then, believe in the heart of the cards, and never give up.